And just like that, here we are on a brand new live stream right here on the Long Box Punk. That's me. I'm Chris, and I talk about indie comics with the creators that are making them. And this stream features a returning guest. First time doing it solo, though. I've got Carl Bourne with me. Carl, thanks for hanging out with me on a Sunday in August. I hope it's not unbearable in Arizona for you.
It is.
I feel like living in Arizona, though, like that's got to be just all the time. Like, aren't your winters even still unbearably hot? Like, do you have winters?
No. I mean, it's not as bad as Phoenix here. Honestly, like 6 months out of the year, the weather is perfect and beautiful. Like it's why people live here.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 months of the year where it's a little warm, and then 4 months of hell. And I'm in like the third month of hell right now.
Yeah,
every year.
Yeah, well, yeah, Ohio though, like we get it's hot, but it's not the heat that gets it, it's the humidity where like you walk out and everything is just wet already and you have to like chew the air to breathe it. That's what, and because I'm an asthmatic, like that's why I hate living here. It's the one complaint I have of like, can we just do away with the humidity? I want to be able to breathe when I go outside. That'd be awesome.
I've lived all over the place. I've lived in Southern Ohio, actually.
Okay.
Mother's from there. My dad's from Northern Ohio. They met at OU.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in New Orleans. Doesn't get more humid than that.
Right. Yeah. That's literally just stepping outside and being covered in sweat and humid grossness. Well, I'm excited to dig into White Wolf with you. The third book is currently funding on Kickstarter. These are the first two, the magazine size. I love the formats. And I want to dig in a little bit too with like, you've got the third book in the magazine size. You've got the collected trade in the digest size. And I'm a fan of formatting and like really nerdy brass tacks like that. So I want to talk to you about that. But before we get into the campaign, which is linked in the description, so you just tap expand and you can hit the Kickstarter and check that out as we talk. Before we go any further, for those that might not know or may have missed the stream we did with Nate Price talking about Of Thunder, what's your origin story, man? Like, how did you get into comics and start drawing and writing? Like, where did all of this start?
That's a tough one because I'm old, so way back. And there's no like set origin. Like I was just never not into comics. You know, like just like drawing dinosaurs. Like every other kid grows out of it except me. I just kept reading comics and kept drawing dinosaurs.
Yeah,
dragons and whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Just as you get older, you're like, well, I better start getting good at this, or it's just going to be humiliating. Like, might as well go to art school or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, and now you've got not necessarily dinosaurs, but you've got like dragon, serpent deities that you're doing.
That's from Aztec mythology. That's the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl.
Like here we go. The wraparound covers that you do, big fan. I really dig it. Like, when you are doing the artwork for White Wolf, is that all traditional? Is it all digital?
Yeah, I always get that question. So, it's kind of a digital painting, but it's on top of a very finished pencil drawing.
Okay.
All right, the dog is in my way. Here, this is the cover.
Oh wow!
For issue 3. So this is how it starts out. I'll do pencil drawing instead of pencil and ink. I'll do pencil and a lot of shading.
Okay.
And scan it in to Photoshop and color it, kind of like the way you would color a black and white photograph.
Okay. Yeah. That's what, like, because it has the hand painted feel. Like I almost expected you to grab like, well, here's the first cover and it's like fully painted. It's nuts. The effect and the textures that you get and the like depth of the colors and everything, it's just top tier. So and everybody else agrees that you're a pencil wizard. So you can put that on your resume. Maybe we need to get you a wizard hat next time.
Wizard hat. Yeah, I've been leaning into charcoal more too. So like this is the cover
Oh,
for issue
wow.
2.
Yeah.
It's harder to get detail, so we got to
Yeah.
work big, but it works for the covers.
That's awesome. So when you were creating White Wolf, like what made you lean to the oversized like magazine format as opposed to the more traditional American comic standard size?
Yeah, that was a very natural, like intentional thing because when I was younger and I got past superheroes. I mean, I stayed interested in superheroes, but I got interested in many other things besides superheroes pretty
Yeah.
early on.
Okay.
I think GI Joe was the first thing, but then the Conan magazine and Heavy Metal magazine.
Yeah.
So those bigger magazine formats always told me mature readers or older readers. Like hard PG-13, if not R rated.
Yeah.
And that's what this book is. Like this book is, it's not just violence. There's a lot of drug use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heavy, like especially when you get to issue 3, which I know you haven't read yet, but when you get into there's a lot of like heavy social satire as well. So it's not for 12-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think too, like that's an interesting point to make is just because it's a mature reader oriented story doesn't mean that it's only violent or only, whatever. Like it can be a lot of different things that lead it to, what the rating is. And that even goes into like movies and TV shows. Cause if you go back, every year I go back and I watch a horror movie from every decade and I start at like 1900s and come all the way forward. And there's movies that in like the 30s and 40s were rated G or PG that now would either be PG-13 or R. I'm like, how did they get away with having on-screen murders and all of these things and it's just rated like G? That's insane.
Yeah, they were figuring it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes money gets involved too. Like Star Wars was originally rated G. And George Lucas was like, "Don't do that to me. Like it's gonna kill me at the box office. Make it PG, please." He just begged him.
That's
got away with it. And then like also like this, there's nudity in this book, but it's not of a sexual variety. So that got crazy too because like issue 2 came out right when Kickstarter played that game about censoring people, and I'm I'm literally looking at like statues made by Michelangelo.
Yep.
And you're gonna shut me down because nudity, like there's no cheesecake or anything like, but it all worked out. It ended up passing through.
Yeah. I think it's the difference between like he's an astral projection and clothes can't enter that realm, so of course he's going to be nude, versus like the NSFW stuff where it's just like, oh look, boobs and more boobs.
As you know, we've got to deal with this AI shit, right? Yep. So it's probably not a human looking at all this stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that to AI?
There's no like conscience behind that's nudity for the sake of the story, not nudity for nudity's sake. And that's a very human delineator that that's the same as like AI scraping resumes. And if you don't have that's why keywords are so important on resumes, because you have to use that for them to think that you're qualified, just to get to talk to a person. And I remember that headache when I was trying to find jobs of just like, if I could talk to a person, I've never done an interview where they didn't offer me the job. I just need to talk to the person and I'll be good. But like getting past that technological microchip wall was almost impossible. And it's AI, man, it's the worst.
How am I going to explain to a computer that, this area, because my book is set in this area, Southwest, like northern Mexico, southern Arizona, that there's a collision of cultures between the Aztecs and the Spanish Catholics.
Yeah.
and it creates some insane imagery, which went into that, which is why there is some nudity, but but it's also kind of like angelic, and
Yeah.
you know, I won't try to go on and on like I'm an art critic, but historian, but it was fascinating, and it was really interesting to draw and inspired the story quite a bit. But how do I
Yeah.
explain that to Chat GPT?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Don't
okay.
just don't acknowledge AI at all. I just keep
Yeah. Like, yeah, because
put
it's
my head
not
down and I keep doing what I'm doing, right?
right. Yeah. So talk to me about the mythology, the folklore, the history, that like all the research that you did to go into this. Like, why I know you mentioned that Quetzalcoatl is the Aztec deity. Like, why this direction? Where, like, is this something that you've always kind of been fascinated by?
Um, no, well, mythology in general, yes.
Okay.
So then I'm like, I'm studying all this stuff overseas, and of course Greek and Egyptian. If you're in the Western world, you start with Greek and Egyptian mythology, right? Then
Yeah.
maybe you get interested in Norse mythology. And I'm like, I took a class in non-Western art, and I'm like, wow, there's a whole world out there. And one of those very non-Western worlds of mythology and crazy art is in my backyard, and I'm not paying
Yeah.
any attention to it. Right?
Mm,
I don't have to go to Italy to study Western art.
yeah.
I could study Aztec art right here, right, and read up on it.
Yeah.
And I've always, a long, long time ago, there was an interview. I was in art school at the time, so I was trying to soak up everything. What do the professionals do? What do they do? What do they do? And there's an interview with Clive Barker, and he had been pushed up by Stephen King.
Okay.
Stephen King had recommended him. They're like, oh, so who are you reading? What fiction authors are you reading? Who do you recommend? He's like, honestly, I read so much nonfiction, I don't have
Mm,
time for it right now. I was like, and then light bulb, like, oh, you've got to read that much nonfiction, like you've got to do that much research
yeah.
to write a totally fictional story, even if it's about like monsters that you've created. Like, okay, I better knuckle down and I better start
Yeah.
really digging in, like a real author does.
Yeah.
I probably read a stack of books like that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. For me, like, I love getting lost in the research phase of stuff, and like being ADHD, I also have the tendency of hyper focusing on something and just losing time. But I will go into these weird like rabbit holes of just, well, what about this folklore? Or like, as I learn more and more about the indigenous tribe that I can draw my lineage back to, like, what do they believe? What are their stories? And then how do I find authentic stories, and not just, stories that claim that they're indigenous, but they're just some white dude sitting in, I don't know, Iowa, like using chat GPT to write books, because those guys are out there as well. Which is just grinds my gears. But like, as I get into it and I start learning more and more, how do you know, as you're doing the research, when you've done enough research to then turn to your original work? Like, how do you, is there a point where like, okay, I now have filled the cup and now I'm ready to turn? Like, how do you know when that line is?
I don't personally have like a set checklist of, oh, I need this, this, and this. I usually, what happens is I have an idea, and I'm like, okay, if I start digging into scientific fact or historical fact, is that legit?
Mm,
And I'm basically like proving a theory, and
yeah.
I either prove it or I learn something that makes me come up with a better theory.
Okay.
Um, like my girlfriend is works in the court system. I'm not going to say specifically what she does, but
Sure.
um, so all the time when we're watching TV, anything dealing with cops or lawyers, she's like,
Yeah.
nope, nope, that wouldn't happen like that. I have a friend that's a firefighter, and they run into this burning building and this bright flame. There's no smoke. You can see
Yeah.
clearly. He's just like rolling his eyes. Nope, nope. I've served in the military, and all the time I'm like, nope, that's not how we did it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be that kind of creator that that throws
Yeah.
something out there. I don't want a Mexican American to read my book and be like, no, no, that sounds like Zeus. That doesn't sound like Quetzalcoatl. Like,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of stuff too that has nothing to do with mythology, like the migrant train
Hmm.
people would ride up to the border. I listened in a lot on my coworkers, my Mexican American coworkers, hear natural conversations they would have, things they liked, things they hated, you know,
Yeah.
just all the research every writer should be doing. Every writer should sit at a coffee shop, pretend like they're doing something, and eavesdrop the hell out of everyone around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I'll have a sketchbook.
Yeah.
I'll really look like I'm doing something because I am, but the ears are still open,
Right. Yeah, no, I've done both sides of that. I've sat, except instead of coffee shops, I do it at breweries, but I'll like sit in the corner with my sketchbook and I'll just be doodling nonsense. And I turn my brain off focusing on whatever I'm doing on the page. And I'm just listening to the tables around me because I heard Stephanie Phillips on her Instagram has been doing a lot of like how she creates and how she writes and how she's doing Daredevil and all of those things. And people ask questions and then she'll do a separate video based on questions that she's asked. And somebody asked about dialogue and like how she gets dialogue to sound and feel so natural. And the first thing she said was, I just eavesdrop. Like I'm always listening to what people are talking, how they're talking around me, like the cadence, even the rhythm and timing of what they're saying, how they're saying it. She said, I'm always paying attention. And if I hear something that I go, oh, I can use that, she'll just jot it down in her phone and keep on going with whatever she was doing there. But I had never intentionally thought about doing that. I'm just like, my brain can't focus on one thing. So I'm always listening to what's going on around me, what people are talking about, what music is playing, like the whir of the espresso machine, because I did happen to be at a coffee shop yesterday writing. And so like that stuff falls into the background and gives my brain enough stimulus that I think of it as like the top part of my brain can then focus on what I want to do and what I'm there to do. While the bottom part of my brain is like, ooh, yeah, listen to that person. And they're talking about this thing and they're going to there. Who are those people? Oh, that's a cool shirt. And so it just like, it gives me enough stimulus that I can then actually focus on what I'm writing on. Do you find that you do the majority of your like writing and artwork just solitary? Like, do you have to shut yourself in your office, or how do you work?
I've always been a person in everything, writing, drawing. I want as many tools in the toolbox as I can get.
Okay.
So some of it is like, I won't even put music on. Maybe even literally like earplugs. Like,
yeah,
I've got to, the very beginning of the story has got to come from my subconscious. It's like David Lynch talks about it being like fishing.
yeah,
you got to be quiet when you're fishing. You got to be still. And then you don't chase after the fish. You're not spear fishing, right? You're fishing, right?
Yeah.
Let it come. And then obviously I do really detailed work, so that can get tedious, and that is nice to have a location change. That's when I might go to a coffee house. I'm not going to sit at a coffee house with a blank page. That's too much for me.
Okay.
But I will sit there and do shading. Every once in a while, an idea will hit because maybe I hear a conversation, or it's just a new environment can be very creatively stimulating.
Yeah.
A lot of great writing has been done in hotel rooms just because of the change of scenery jumpstarts your imagination. That's documented. Being in a coffee house or something like that, where there's that low level of noise you're talking about, they have done sociological studies on that, and that is actually great for productivity. You're not the only one that feels that. Same with music. They've done studies on the music, and music should preferably be instrumental, or something you're very familiar with, so you're not getting distracted by the lyrics.
Yeah, because I have had the opposite of that when I first started writing. I would sit down and be like, oh, I want to listen to Blink-182. And I put on an album. And even though I am super familiar and I know all the words to basically all of their stuff, I would find that as I was trying to write whatever I was writing, I would be typing the lyrics from the song. And
Yeah.
instead, like, it would just happen, and I'd be like, yeah, so then the guy jumps out of the small things, and then true care, truth rings. No, wait, damn it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The,
I
the
I made
tempo
the
might be a
switch.
bit
Yeah.
tempo might be a bit fast for Blink 182 as well.
Yeah.
I find soundtrack music or like well, classical works.
Hmm.
Frank Frazetta only listened to classical music when he painted.
Yeah, I can't bring myself. I'm not there yet. I
I
do
get
a
tired of
lot of.
classical music pretty fast, but it
Yeah.
can be in the mix. Like it can't be all day, but it
Yeah.
can. Like you, I mean, I put me in a car and on a long drive, you can listen to whatever you want. I'm probably gonna put on the Clash,
Yeah.
something like that. But I can't listen to them while I'm drawing. It doesn't work.
You start tapping or like trying to line with the
Yeah,
beat, and you're like, that's way
yeah.
too many.
They're not made for sitting still. Like
Yeah. Yeah, that was never on their achievable things for writing music. Was we just want people to chill, sit and hang out. I love that. With the okay, so with the story, because I realized we didn't talk about that. For those that are not familiar with White Wolf, what's the story so far in the first two, and then what can you tell us about this third and final issue?
yeah, so it starts out with this character, and it's kind of left up to the audience, although pretty much I would say there's more evidence to say that most of this is going on in the character's head than in real life. There is a man who thinks he's a reincarnated Aztec warrior, and he has to save the world. Yeah, this witch and the Lord of the Underworld have made a bargain where they've given people immortality. That's how he got reincarnated and became an immortal, kind of like the guys in um, Highlander. Like there can be only one.
Yeah.
So there's these people running around with this immortality, and a lot of them are doing bad. In the third issue, there's even some jokes that, like Jeff Bezos is one of them. But anyway, so he sets off on this adventure, and he's robbed some drug dealers of their money, drugs, and guns, and they're after him. So, and they're on drugs as well.
Yeah,
So
the scene in the second book where they're having the gunfight, and the one drug dealer's like, I don't know that we should be doing anything with guns when we're this high.
yeah, that's an important point too. It might get past some people, but it is a dark comedy.
Mhm.
You are supposed to be laughing at that stuff, especially issue 3. Issue 3 is less action, but more comedy, more social satire, and more dark comedy.
Okay. Yeah, it's I mean, there's a ton that you put into the story. Like you've got the is he immortal? You've got the like taking all of the drugs and then the chase that happens there. You've got the overlapping immortals and beyond human strength seeming characters that are kind of leading the drug dealers to catch this warrior. You've got the continued imagery of the wolf and like just animals in general with the owl in the second issue too. And it's just like there's so much packed into this. How in the hell did you pull that off?
I'm sure part of it is that I'm now 54 years old and I'm drawing on my whole life because even a whole bunch more stuff comes into issue 3.
Okay.
You find out they're veterans, like, and there's a whole bunch of true stories, kind of like the migrant train.
Mm-hmm.
And on the mountains in the very beginning, there's a mountain next to a volcano in Mexico. That's a myth. That's a myth that I didn't make up. That was from research. And then sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. There is a lot going on.
Yeah, it like I
so
mean,
I'm drawing from life experience, and I think that the ideas I set out to make something totally outside myself. I think that's the hardest thing to do is create a character that's nothing like you.
Yeah.
But then all of this stuff from my past started leaking in. I've deployed to Afghanistan 3 times. I lived in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. Um, so all this shit always ends up coming out in my stories,
Yeah.
as much as I want to ignore it. I mean, art is therapy for most of us, right? You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so these things really happen. Like the Louisiana Guard unit really was in Iraq at the tail end of their deployment when Hurricane Katrina hit.
Mm.
And many of them just basically came home and got reactivated. Many of them lost their houses. So that ends up, you find out that happened to one of the characters. There's a base they just called K2 in like one of the stands that used to resupply Afghanistan.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of people there got sick from toxic exposure, a lot of tumors. Not to give out too much of a spoiler, but often brain tumors.
Mm.
So then, so that was research I didn't have to do much about because I lived it. I heard it from other veterans or experienced it myself. I did read a whole book just on schizophrenia. Did research on what happens when you eat mushrooms or drop acid while you're schizophrenic. That's a really bad idea. I wouldn't recommend that.
Noted.
And then the nonfiction probably gives me as many ideas as my subconscious, right? Because I'm reading about the schizophrenics, and I'm like, oh, most schizophrenia comes on later in life. I'm like, well, shit, my character wouldn't be in the situation he's in if he found out as a teenager. But then I find out, oh, sometimes a brain tumor can cause it later in life. So that's when I connected it to what I knew about that base. And also being schizophrenic, that it greatly increased what was going on in the story, because being schizophrenic often has the fantasies or the hallucinations often involve religion, and they often involve a person thinking they're immortal. So if I tell you all the nonfiction research I did, you're like, oh, okay, I see it. I see it in this chapter. I see it in that chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. That does, as you were talking about it, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that at play here and here and here. I mean, that's like, I don't even know how you ended up landing on reading into schizophrenia. Like, was that research that you did because of the idea, or did you have the idea because of the research?
Okay, so yeah, here's like the origin story of the story. White Wolf was a character I came up with in art school many, many years ago, talking the 90s here. And it was kind of like I shelved it because it was one cool idea, and then everything else was typical. Like I had this idea of a character that gets killed and reincarnated 100 times. And every life he's to become a perfect warrior, right? Every life he's either a soldier or a samurai or a knight, or he's a predatory animal. And every life he's killed tragically. So he's literally, because we learn more from our mistakes than our successes, right? So he's got 100 life killing mistakes that he's learned from, along with, learning all the martial arts of a samurai and, how to be a Navy SEAL and all that crap. So I've got this immortal, but he has to go through 100 lives to become immortal. And so now I've got this cool character that I can, I imagine doing 22 pages a month of this guy fighting monsters, chasing down monsters. But in the end, I was like, I kind of just recreated The Witcher wasn't out yet, but I basically did that, or Vampire Hunter D, because originally he was all white with long white hair. He looked like a wraith, almost like. And I'm like, I don't know this. And also, it was an idea for a character. It wasn't an idea for a story. So I shelved it. And then one day I'm rewatching The Terminator, the very first Terminator movie. And it's the scene. It's not an action scene. It's the scene when they're in the police station and they're talking to Reese, and the police psychologist is fascinated. He's like, this guy has a perfect fantasy life that cannot be proven or disproven.
Yeah.
And then Linda Hamilton's talking to the cop because she saw Arnold Schwarzenegger put his hand through the windshield of the car. And he's like, or something like that. And then the cop is like, oh, I've seen that. That's PCP. Like later on, he'll find out his hand's broken. But while he's fighting, and I've heard cops tell this. I was in the reserve, so I worked with a lot of cops too. That was their day job, and I've heard, someone told me about this guy. It took 6 people in a net to bring him down. One of the cops hit him in the jaw with a baton so hard it bent the baton.
Jeez.
And he just shook it off and looked at the cop and said, "Is that all you got?"
Yes.
Anyone on PCP.
That's insane.
Think about it, a guy like that can do the shit you see in a Punisher TV show or comic or Daredevil or something. He can actually fight 6 guys and win.
Yeah.
But I studied martial arts. Nobody in real life can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to flip the script. That's a great way. Just take an established idea and flip the script. I'm like, okay, I have this idea for this character. But what if he's not really immortal? What if he just thinks he's all these things, and the drugs and the schizophrenia are giving him basically superhuman powers. Because I also made him a history professor too.
That's
so
cool.
That's the origin story of the story, I guess.
Yeah. See, those kind of insights are why I love doing this show, because I'm always fascinated by like where stories come from. And because I know where some of mine come from, others I just have random thoughts. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And then I write it down and chew on it. But like, I like finding out how creators get to like where their creativity comes from, because I want to be more creative. So I'm like, well, what else can I do to put myself in situations where something might strike me? And it's a lot of doing non-typical things that, like, if I get out of my comfort zone, to your point about writing a character that's nothing like you, where it's like, if I do something that I normally wouldn't do or break my regular routine and change that up, then suddenly everything is fresh and it's not this smoothed down rock. It's very rigid and it's very like disruptive to what my brain is used to. And then if it has to think differently, then suddenly everything is different with how my brain is functioning. But yeah, like just going into the research and the study of like the true like nonfiction aspect of things, and the blending that with the different cultures and the drug usage, and the question of like, is this real? How is this? But wait, that can't be real. Like, he's chasing this wolf on a railway that is going in spirals and circles, and Quetzalcoatl's following him. And what? That can't be. He's got to be tripping right now, right? Like, that's got to be what this is. But then I don't know.
But I've literally had people argue with me. They're like, "Oh no, he's seeing things that are there. It's just because of what he's doing. He's the only one who can see them." I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to argue. Like, did Dorothy really go to Oz, or did she dream it? Well, that's up to the reader.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a certain amount left to, like, art is meant to be discussed. And I heard that come up a lot when whoever it was duct taped a banana to the wall and called it art. And artists were pissed, like, that's not art. Like, that's just a banana duct taped to the wall. And then other people were like, right, but that's the point of art, is to get people talking about it. And so now we're talking about what art is because of a banana duct taped to the wall. And I don't know that I have strong feelings one way or the other of, is that art or not? But I do agree that for me, like, the best creations are the ones that then cause conversations. And I think that's every time I sit down to write, it's probably not stated or the front of my brain, but I think anything that I write is with the intention of making somebody think about something differently, or have this, like, what is that book? What is that story saying? And like, what can I take from it? And then have a conversation about, like, let's lead everything to conversations and touching grass and getting into the real world and away from computers that are spewing AI and all the other nonsense.
A great thing, for a horror writer, is write what scares you, because there's a whole nother aspect of this. that he believes the end of the world is coming,
Yeah.
and you'll see it a lot more in issue 3. But a lot of actual facts come out about not the world ending, but society heading for a collapse.
Yeah.
Legit statistics, like mathematical equations. So I don't think the world's going to end. But I'm writing a story about a guy who thinks the world's going to end because I see a serious decline in this country coming.
Mm-hmm.
And immigration being one of those problems, that we're not really solving.
Yeah.
Or if we are, we're doing as much harm as good, solving it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It just because it's a solution doesn't mean it's the right solution. But then it's like, well, there's so many different points of view and perspectives and thoughts, and it's such a hot topic that everybody loves to talk about, that it's like, well, does anyone have the right idea? Like, there's no one right idea or right way to handle any of that stuff, because like no matter what you do, someone at some point on either side of the conversation or really argument is gonna get hurt. So like, how do you find the middle ground when the world is telling you to be black or white? Like, I just want to be gray. Can I do that, please?
That's exposed a lot of tribalism. That we're heading towards a lot of tribalism.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to pick a side. And it's like, what if I want to compromise?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what if
I respect the other person's opinion, even though it's different than mine?
What about this basic thing called respect for humans? Like, can we go back to that, please?
What if our problems are from within and I don't want to blame everyone on the outside instead of looking at myself?
Yeah. Yeah. All the introspection. And I do love too what Chris is saying with like the reader is the final collaborator for anything. How does that make you feel? Because I don't know how that makes me feel.
Well, you're going to get different reactions. I don't know. I accept that. I'm totally okay with that. I've never tried to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
But you can't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I want. So this is like it's like poetry versus prose. Like prose writers get caught up in, I want people to feel exactly what I felt and experience it exactly the way I'm writing it on the page. Poetry is just trying to hit the emotional chord.
Yeah.
And I write prose, but I hope the reaction in the reader is more poetic. It's okay if they feel different than I do.
Right. Well, are you sure? Because I think that means that they're your enemy now if they feel differently than how you feel. Isn't that how it's supposed to go? Yeah. What a mess.
No, I mean, you do have to put a limit on that. I mean, people need to understand the story you're telling. They can't be confused about who's who and what happened when. But so it's not an excuse for that. But yeah, it's okay,
Yeah. So I want to get into the format that you have on Kickstarter, or the formats, because I know I totally get and understand, and now I'm like, oh, that's why, with the heavy metals and the Conan magazine size books versus traditional comic versus digest size. But you've got the full collected trade of White Wolf in digest size available on this Kickstarter as well. What made you choose that size for the trade collection?
It wasn't really me. That's Rolling Squid Bones is going to publish this after the Kickstarter, and they're doing everything that way. And I have to say, though, I like it for the same reasons I like the magazine size. This size reminds me of manga.
Yeah. Which
is also not superheroes, can be for adults, can be anything, they're not limited to guys in tights,
Yeah.
And when you see that size, it usually rings a bell in your head that there's a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
which this is. I like to do 80 to 120 pages or so. I don't have any ideas that I want to keep going forever.
Mm.
I'm not going to make the next Spawn or anything like that. I approach comics more like a novel writer. I don't set a deadline, sure as hell. And I don't think anyone in indie comics sets a deadline of 22 pages a month. Like you go mad, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But even so,
totally insane.
even if I could do, say, comfortably do 6 books a year, I wouldn't just do 6 books a year of the same title for the rest of my life. It's not what I want to do. I want to tell complete stories, and it should always come out in a miniseries and or a graphic novel.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of digest size. All of the CHK books that we put out are always going to be that size because of the manga, with a lot of the same reasons that you just stated, of like that's a complete story. It's for like, I was even thinking on the sales side of things, there's a reason that manga is so popular and does so many numbers, and it's, I think, in part because of the size, because people can get it, they can get the chapter, and they can stick it in their back pocket when they're on the train ride, or they can, easily stick it in their backpack, and it doesn't take up the whole freaking backpack just to get your book in. And it, like, I like that size because you can easily hold it. It's not overbearing. I've got a couple of the like really big, like 1,000+ page omnibus collections in on my shelf. They're so hard to read because they're so damn big.
It's an event. It's like listening to an album versus listening to your iPod.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes them special, but
Yeah.
it is, yeah, you're not going to flip through it casually. It's got to be
Right.
something you stop and do. And how many people don't have time for that anymore?
Yeah. There's a reason that 5 of the 6 I have are unread. It's just because, I mean, even like talking to my wife, she was giving me crap about it because I was like, when I read the first one that I did, I sat down and I had to like sit straight up on the couch. I couldn't lounge because it was so big. I had to put it on my lap and then be able to fully open it on my lap. And she was like, "You're doing all that just to read your comic?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to read that. Like, I bought it because I want to read it and have it, but it's also like 7 pounds. So like,
yeah,
I can't just leave that."
I get those for the art.
Yeah.
Like I've got Bill Sienkiewicz and Mobius and stuff like that up here that
Yeah.
you'll see in the giant hardback books, and that's it. I've already read them, in the smaller formats, but I want the art. And I actually, if it's the art that you like about this story, I would recommend the magazine size, because there's a lot of double page spreads, that just aren't going to be the same in the digest size.
Yep.
This is not going to hit the same at 6x9.
Yeah.
So I would, if you're a big fan of the art, this, and if you're just old like me, if your eyes are going to want to look at.
I did think that while I was reading, I think the second book, was looking at some of your double page spreads. I was like, oh yeah, this has to be magazine size, just to like be able to really take in every detail that you're putting on the page, because it is incredibly detailed. Like it's so good, man. It's a really cool series. And to be working with Rolling Squid Bones, how has that been? Because I know Chad, I know Chris, I know the guys that started that. How's that been?
Great. I love them. Yeah, it's helpful, always supportive. There's a messenger group that we always talk on. You can post problems you're having, solutions you've had to other people's problems, like recommendations for printers, anything you need, they're there. It's a small community and we're all there for each other. I love it.
Yeah, that's the best possible scenario. So after White Wolf, what is next for Rat Race Comics?
I put a bunch of hooks in the water. We'll see who bites.
Perfect.
Well, so there's going to be stuff coming out that's already done. It's just not out yet.
Sure.
I colored Of Thunder.
Okay.
So that'll be a 48-page. Instead of 2 black and white books, it'll come out as a 48-page color book. I did the latest issue of Night of the Chihuahuas. I'll probably do the next issue. A couple people have come to me. I think my next story is, I've got an 8-page story for Chad that I'm going to do.
Okay.
It's only 8 pages, but my next goal is to do something that someone else writes. So a couple people have proposed stuff to me, but they don't. We haven't talked page rates. We haven't talked final scripts yet. So unfortunately, you gotta say yes to a bunch of things, because probably 3 out of 4 of them are going to fall through.
Yeah.
Or I'll get overwhelmed. I don't know. That's fine too. I've retired early from the federal government, so it's another thing. I don't want to get political, but it happens. Sorry, my girlfriend just came home, but I'm doing this full time now, so I can really knuckle down and get a lot more work done than I used to, especially if someone else is giving me a script.
Yeah. So talk to me about that, because I was going to ask, and this is just so natural. I was going to ask, like, how is the working, I don't know, cadence, or like, what's it like working with a script that say Nate Price wrote versus like an all in, this is all you story? Like, how does the work compare?
I don't know. I've always wanted to write and draw. So, and I approach them both the same way. I do an outline, a rough draft, a final. I do thumbnail sketches, rough sketches, final art. Like it's the same parts of my brain are firing, whether I'm drawing or writing. So then when I work for someone else, I do think a lot more about, I want to make the writer happy, and maybe I shouldn't, but I do. And I think the work comes out better because I'm doing that. When you find the right person to work with, it becomes the 2 heads are better than 1 situation.
Yeah.
But it can also just be cut and dry. Like, here's the script. It's already been edited. Don't tamper with it. Yeah. Or it can be more collaborative.
Do you have a preference of the 2?
It depends on the writer.
Okay.
Let me close the door. Sorry.
This is the beauty of doing a live show.
And having a pack of chihuahuas.
We're animal friendly here.
Writer on Night of the Chihuahuas. But it depends on the writer. I mean, some writers can write a beautiful script, and it paints a picture in your head, and then all I need is that script. But in the indie world, it's probably best to collaborate. You're probably both gonna. There's probably going to be some back and forth. There might need to be some improvement. And I kind of I had a good experience with Sarah Cook. I don't know if you know her. She's in Ohio.
Okay.
Zelda Award winner, I think. She writes a pretty tight script. But every once in a while I have questions. She's easy to talk to. And she'll kind of edit the art for me. She'll be like, oh, you know, this costume isn't correct for the time period or whatever. I'm like, great thing. I think all writers should do this. When you're doing your research, you're probably coming across a whole lot of photographs of things. Screenshot those and send them to the artist. Like, it's very helpful. Because now he's going back and doing all the same research you did, which is costing him or her a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time you already spent. So, and even if you're a writer, a picture's still worth 1,000 words. So it helps communicate a lot better. And an indie comic artists always need to save time because, 99% of us have day jobs, right?
Yeah. And that's something that I didn't know when I started writing was like, yes, I am doing this research and I am looking things up to make sure that as I'm describing whatever scene, it matches or it has the details right. And I didn't even think about like, oh, I should probably save this for my artist because they're going to need to see what I'm talking about or referencing. And it wasn't until an artist was like, hey, do you have references? I'm like, for what? What do you
Yeah.
need for anything you have? It's like, oh, yeah, yeah, because I didn't want to be like, hey, make sure when you do the lab it looks like this, or make sure the cave looks this way on the inside, whatever. Like, I didn't want to be too prescriptive with it, but then the artist was like, no, you're not. Like, that's actually super helpful for me because then I know what you're going for, and then I can take it from there. And I was like, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely prefer a looser script. Um, but again, there are exceptions. There's some people
Sure.
out there that can write some tight scripts, and it's like reading a really well written novel where I get the pictures in my head from the script.
Yeah.
But generally, if someone asks me, "Do you want loose?" or if they ask me, I'm going to say loose. Especially when it comes to panel size and
Mm,
whether I'm going to do close up, distance, stuff like that.
yeah.
I went to the Joe Kubert School um, when Joe was still alive and teaching. Joe and a bunch of the other older instructors there got their start in the Will Eisner Studios.
Okay.
Um, because that was the entry level job in comics in New York City at the time.
Sure.
Um, so like he learned from Will Eisner, and he taught me. To be honest, I don't want to sound like a dick, but to be honest, I don't want a writer who's never done any artwork telling me how to visually tell a story. Like,
Yeah.
I got this. I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the artist and they're the writer for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, now if you have a reason, like, oh, this is a long shot because it's an establishing shot.
Mm,
Yeah, sure, I totally agree. This is a close up because we need. Like, I'm not saying never do that,
yeah.
but if it's just your intuition, let me know. And if it's a specific reason, also more importantly, let me know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Like, is it going
do
to
a
move
medium
the
close
story
up
forward?
because later on the guy's mad now, but he's going to get really mad later, and I don't want a tight close up.
Yeah.
That's a good reason for a writer to tell me how to do it. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Saying that for the record, I don't think makes you a dick at all. Like, because I mean, that's the experience of doing what you've done, going to the schools that you have, like learning from Joe freaking Kubert, like that's the
Yeah.
that's the experience. And like honestly, those experiences and that knowledge is why as a writer, I would be like, hey, I want to portray this and like here's where we're going, but I don't know how to get there the best way visually. And that's why I want you as the artist to have the ownership. Like from the writer's side, I want an artist that's going to say, hey, like I think I can nail this. Like, let me just run with it. Okay, cool. If I'm hiring you to do work with me, like I absolutely want to trust you to take the thing and run. I don't feel like I should have any right to tell the artist
Yeah.
unless it's for the sake of story. Because then I'm not like directing the pencil, I'm directing the story. And so if I need something to happen, it's like the Chekhov's gun thing. If you have a gun in the first act on stage, you have to fire that gun in the third act, but you
Yeah.
can't fire it if you don't have it there in the first.
Yeah.
So, like, things like that, where to me are more of a story decision that's being told through the art versus, well, I can easily line this out in the script and then you'll just know that because the gun is needed in the third act to fire, I have to put it in on the first. Some artists might, but when it's important for the story, those are the things that I feel are like, no, you should probably communicate that. Like we should.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a problem for new writers. Like if I come on your book right away before I even start drawing page one, you got to tell me that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Mm, yeah.
That's an awesome reveal for the audience, and yeah, it ruins it for me. but
Sure.
I'm not the audience. Like, don't confuse me with the audience. I have to entertain the audience as much as you do. So I need to know everything you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I know you want to see the look on my face of surprise, and I get it because you're a writer, and it's cool. It's a great freaking job, and
Yeah.
um, but it's still a job. Like Joey Ramone said, yeah, being a rock star is a cool job, but it's still a job.
Yep. Yeah. And to that point, like if you're ever talking with an editor or like pitching your story, you have to give that away. I feel like in the pitch so that they know what they're potentially like bringing on to publish.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
If in your synopsis that you send to Image or whatever, there's a big reveal. You have to tell them what it is. Like that, you don't end the sentence there. You got to tell them
and
what
it
it is.
is.
They're just gonna. They've got a stack of proposals. Like they're gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy didn't follow the instructions. Next.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, man. these are the things that I didn't know before I started doing this show. And now that I'm in my third year doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually do know some things about some stuff. Go me. So, let me see. Hit it. Cool. So business side of things, the Kickstarter is live right now. And because I put it up like a smart person and I came prepared, you've got 27 days to go. You've got 14 backers on board, and you're already less than $70 away from hitting the minimum goal, which I know it has to be costing you more than what the funding goal is to make this. So the more the merrier in this case.
Yeah, I mean, issues 1 and 2 are printed. Well, I mean, I lost money on the second Kickstarter, but that means I'll potentially make money on this one. I don't, but I print 100 copies at a time. So the Kickstarter is never gonna. I'm not gonna sell 100 copies. The Kickstarter is just to take the edge off what I'm pulling out of my savings account to pay for the printer.
Yeah.
And then I slowly make that money back. I make a big chunk of it back at the Kickstarter, and then I slowly make it back from one con to another.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm learning is, and I just had this conversation with another creator of like, yeah, Kickstarter was great. We got all these books. We printed, the minimum whatever, which gave us extra copies. And now I have extra copies sitting in my office and I got to figure out what the hell to do. Like, how do I sell these? He was like, yeah, that part. Like you got to go to events and you got to try and table at your local comic shop and see if there's a author event at your library and whatever. Like you just got to start going to these things. And that's a whole separate muscle that has to be worked and learned and practiced and all of those things to sell your comic that you put all of this time and effort and energy and money into. And you got to sell that to a stranger and make them care enough about it to give you their money in return. Like that's not easy to do. Turns out
learning that elevator pitch is a good tool for you as a creator, though it'll make you a better writer. How do I get this person's attention and with one sentence so I can give them another sentence and then maybe one more sentence to make or not make the sale. You don't know. Like it helps though. I know some people hate doing cons. I personally like them, but because I might be an introvert most of the time, but I can talk about art all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it works for me. And also I can put up all this art behind me, attracts a lot of attention. It helps sell the books quite a bit.
Yeah, I can't exactly put up just printed pages of script behind me.
It's hard for writers. Yeah, I mean, it's really better if you can share a table with your artist. It is really hard for writers to get attention. I guess you can just be the oasis that's not too much information in everyone's faces. The place people can come and chill. Just some books on the table.
I got to say, I brought when I tabled this past April. It was my first time tabling anything and I had no idea what to expect. And I knew the aesthetic I wanted for my table and I nailed it and I was really happy with it. and I brought yeah, back you probably the little orange headband is on a purple velvet skull, and I brought that and like just had it sitting on my table because I was like, that's me in a prop. And so I just had it sitting. That skull brought more people over to my table than anything that they could see with my comics, with the stickers I had, with the zines I had. Like the skull brought people over and they're like, that is awesome. Where did you, how much is it? I'm like, I'm not selling that. That's just here for aesthetics. But since you're already here, let me tell you about my comic. And like figuring that out. So I didn't sell any of my comics the first day of the convention. I only sold stickers and buttons, which there's something to be said about that. But like, I don't just want to be the sticker and button guy. I want to be the like, no, I write things and I think that they're good and I think you should enjoy them guy. And so it took all day Saturday to figure out how to sell my book. And then Sunday, I actually started selling my book and was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Like, got it. It still was tough. And it took a lot of like reflection and it helps that the con was 2.5 hours away from my house. So driving home Sunday night with my wife was a very quiet drive because I was like, I just lost my ass. Like I didn't even make table. Let alone hotel costs and food costs.
You'll
and
never make that back.
Yeah. Like I just completely spent a bunch of money to go. I had a great time. I tabled with a buddy and a collaborator of mine, got to meet other creators, got to see some friends that I've talked to before. And so I had a blast, but I was like, is this going to be the thing that I do as like my hobby? And I'm spending money to go table at cons to make a little bit back, just accepting that I'm never going to make the table costs, hotel costs, travel costs. Like, where do and figuring out where I fall on that was definitely a challenging like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be a big name to be able to pay the hotel back and all that. I look at places where I've got a free place to stay, and I'm honestly shying away from the big cons because the table fees are out of control.
They're so expensive, yeah.
And most people are. It's like they've literally come to me, look at my stuff, and then ask me if I have any fan art, and then I have to like control the fist of death and.
I just I'm gonna scratch my head and think I don't know. I'm all OCs over here.
The smaller 1-day shows, reasonable price. The other thing for me that doesn't help you at all, I'm sorry, but if I sell a piece of original art, like I did 2 small cons, like the ASCAF, anything that ends in a calf, I highly recommend.
Okay.
Because it's strictly indie.
Okay.
Everyone else there is indie. Everyone's coming there to look at indie stuff. But yeah, I sold 3 pieces of original art there. The very first one paid for the table plus an extra $10, I think. So everything after that sale was profit, and that's when you can start giving people deals too without you losing money.
Yeah.
But again, that was original art. I don't know if I could have made table back just selling comic books. You got to have something else besides comic books.
Yeah, that's what people told me was you can't just come in with your books. Like you got to have something. And so that's why I printed a bunch of stickers and I went to the library and pressed a bunch of buttons, and I sold more buttons than I did anything else. And like I made more money selling $1 a button than I did selling $5 for a comic.
So that's an advertising trick I learned in art school. And this is why I always want to bring my original art and put it up, even if it doesn't sell. Have the big expensive thing and then have a cheaper version of it at a very reason, even overprice your original art or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can even underprice a little bit the comics, the print, the print, like here's a big, beautiful illustration for $400, or you can buy the print for 15.
Yeah.
Like they may have, if you just have the print there, they might not buy it. Might not even buy it for 10. but they see that big thing they can't have, and they're like, oh, I can, the $15 thing, I can get that.
Yeah. Man, psychology and really like the study of consumerism is just something I need to learn more about to
It
figure
can
out.
get shady too. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel like kind of gross knowing
There's
that
other
you're,
things I know I won't tell people because
yeah.
it's information I don't want to know, and things I don't do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why a telemarketer will try to keep you on the phone for a really long time before they ever tell you the price,
Yep.
because now you're invested. You know, it's like I don't do that to people. I don't want to do that to people. And
Same. Yeah. I don't want to keep your time for the sake of, well, maybe after you stand here for me talking at you for like 10 minutes, you'll feel convinced or at least guilty enough that you let me do my whole spiel. So you might as well throw some money my way. And I've definitely been on the other side of the table at cons with that,
yeah,
where it's like, man, I
I'm
just
gonna
let you do
feel
this
so
whole
guilty
thing.
if I walk away now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the other trick is to give someone something for free.
Mm-hmm.
Like those buttons or stickers, you can give them for free. Like I give out my free stickers after you've made the purchase, and I throw them
Yeah.
in the bag. I don't hand them to you and be like, hey, you want to buy something? Here's something free first.
Yeah.
Don't you feel guilty if you don't buy anything now? Like,
Yeah. I'll do it after the fact. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
started like doodling on, so I work in a warehouse and I do a ton of shipping. Like that's my primary job. And anytime I change the thermal label roll in the printer, it always spits out like 3 blank ones before it recalibrates. And so instead of throwing those 3 away, I just set them aside. And then I take those with me when I go to cons and I'm tabling and I just like draw dumb shit on the thermal label. And I have those in like a stack or kind of laid out like towards the back of my whatever, so that if people buy something, I'm like, hey, because you bought something, like go ahead and pick one of these out and I'll just throw it in with the book. And I started doing that and that worked really well. Like even if they bought a button, I was like, cool. Hey, do you want one of these too? Like I'm just doing these to give them away to people that are actually like buying stuff at my table so that you get something fun that's like, oh, unexpected. And then it's a giant sticker and you can slap it on whatever you want to. And like, so that's what I've started doing for free stuff because I don't hold any of that stuff like religiously sanctified or anything like that. I'm like, oh, whatever, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So, but okay, those are my official notes. But as you know, there's 2 more things that I want to do. The first is we're going to pose. I'm going to take a screenshot, use that as a YouTube thumbnail. And I've got I made sure to pull these out of my box so that I can hold up props as we take the screenshots. Make sure the lighting is good here.
How's my hair?
It's so good. All right. And there we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Cool. And then the other thing that I always love doing is I love doing this show because I get to talk to people that are all over, not just the States, not just the continent, but all over the globe. And in a world that's saying that you're different from me, so we have to be enemies, I like to say you're different from me, so tell me something. So to lean into that, I always end every stream by having the guest that I have on or guests just share whatever. So it could be a message of like, hey, go back the Kickstarter and help me out that way. And like, let's get the book funded. It could be something completely different and unrelated, like the best plan of attack for buying a toupee. I don't have any idea. The content doesn't matter at all to me. I just want to have, make sure you've got some space to share anything that you want people to hear. So Carl, my friend, take it away.
Yeah. Well, I did leave out a big influence on the book was actually Don Quixote. That you can see it if once you read it, you can see it. But
yeah,
mainly what I'd really like to do is tell a story. For some reason, it never comes up, but I have the most indie comics story ever.
Okay.
Let me grab this art. So I'm in El Paso, right? Border town.
Mm-hmm.
At least half the people there are like first generation Mexican Americans. A lot of people don't even speak English there, and I've got this. Oh, there's a glare, but I've got this big thing. Like I put up my art,
Mhm.
to get people's attention. And so this is people on the migrant train, that really suffered to get here to the US.
Yeah.
And there's this couple who comes up, Hispanic, and the woman sees it and she's like, her jaw drops. And she's like almost in tears. But she doesn't speak English. And her husband speaks a few words of English, and he just starts nodding. He's like, "Your art is good. It's good. Like, we like your art." And they just kept looking at it, like almost dumbfounded. And she really like starts wiping her eyes. And then they walked off. They didn't buy anything. They didn't even say we'll be back.
Yeah.
They didn't even take a sticker. No, that was free. So if you like that story, welcome to indie comics.
That's it. Yeah.
In, like, we'll take you.
Yeah, I definitely had that several times at the convention in April. We're like, man, this is so rad. Like, that's so badass. I love purple because my tablecloth is purple. I love purple and the skulls and the this is so punk, dude. This is so rad. I'm like, don't you want to say, can you, no? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when you've got that button for only $1.
Right. I'm basically giving these away. Like, come on now. Not even a button that says make art or fuck AI. Like, not even that. Come on. All right. All right. Yeah. No, that's
you made an emotional connection.
Right. I was like, you know what? If I come back to the show and if they come back to the show too, maybe they'll see me again and maybe that'll lead to a sale. But I just love talking to people and I love creating and making comics and talking to creators who make comics themselves or make art. Like, just making those connections are, honestly, I know it's bad business, but like, that's worth it for me. I wrestled with space and like, was it a good con for me? Like, was it a good thing? Even though I lost so much money, whatever. And at the end of it, at that 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that was worth it. Cause now I can tell sixth grade me, like, hey, someday you're gonna be the guy behind the table and you're going to be selling stuff that you made, that you wrote, that you worked on, that you came up with, that you thought out of nothing. And you're going to be selling that stuff and complete strangers are going to give you money. It won't be much and there won't be many of them, but it's going to happen. And being able to check that off of my list of like, I don't even know that I didn't ever even see that in my future to now being a thing that I'm like, yeah, I did that. And okay, it's worth the financial, like, well, there goes that money to be able to say, yeah, I did that and I had a great weekend doing it and it was a ton of fun. So there's that. That's,
I think too that there's not too many schools for this, or and what you go to a con and you lose some money, but you just got educated.
Yeah.
The feedback you got and the mistakes you made that you identified yourself and can fix now. The people flipping through your books, I like this. They just flip real quick past another part. Okay. Yeah. They pick up this cover and never that cover. All of that is the money you lost at a con is probably less money than you would have spent taking a class. Yeah. But you just learned everything you would have learned taking a class.
Yeah. I was paying for an in-life education with the experiences of exactly that. Like, oh, so people like these things. They didn't even touch any of this stuff. Like these, I didn't sell any of those, but I sold a bunch of these. So like everything I want to go into as a learning experience because I never want to feel like I've learned enough to say, all right, I know it all. I'm done. I'm good. I can do whatever I want now and everything is going to be exactly how it's supposed to be. Like I always want things to be improving. So there's
two other reasons too, that you might make a connection that will lead to a paying job someday.
Yeah.
And then also like by doing the Tucson Comic Con, I'll be doing that in a couple weeks. By doing that so many years and then deciding this year not to do it, they invited me in as a guest.
Oh, cool.
Guest meaning I don't pay the table fee.
Yeah.
So now it's profit. Like, and now it matters too, because now I'm doing this full time. So
Yeah.
it's just like any business. You know, often the first 5 years you don't make any money.
Yep.
Which is you're
Yeah. And
putting
that's,
any profit at all towards making money later on. You know.
yeah. Yeah. That was the other thing that I had to equate it to, because I work for a company that I was full-time employee number 3. So like where I'm constantly having that conversation with my boss slash the founder about the business. And I'm like, well, this is the same thing. Like I'm spending money to learn, to get myself out there, to get reps, to get experience, to make connections, to meet creators. And as long as I can't look at it as, well, one con is equivalent to 1 year. So I'm allowed to fail here, here, and here. But by the time I get to this one in 4 months, I better be making money there, because like that's just not reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good stuff, man. Carl, I always appreciate when you come on and hang out. It's always, I know I'm going to get something that I didn't expect. And so I appreciate just your willingness to be open and deal with my mental shenanigans. Again, thanks for hanging out. For anybody else that's watching this, do go check out the White Wolf Kickstarter. You've got 20 something days. I said it earlier, 27 days remaining. Get in on White Wolf. I gotta make sure I get the 3rd issue, so I will break your your 24 hours. But yeah, dude, thanks for hanging out with me. It's always good talking to you. It's time for the tagline. So go do what's good for you, punks, and make some art, because I want to see it. And we are out of here. Got really dark.